All right, man. So sooner or later, this was going to have to happen. I'm low-key happy that it happened sooner rather than later. Um, but let's talk about last night, man. Let's talk about last night. Last night was a great learning experience for me. We can talk about the training camp I had and all that shit, but I would like to keep it focused on what happened yesterday. So, as a lot of y'all know, had my second technically, my first official MMA scrap against another heavyweight by the name of Chaz Blevins. He had some boxing experience and whatnot, and it was a great fight. He came out with a level of aggression and intensity that I kind of expected. And I just think that on the feet, as far as the stand-up went, I think we both went well. The fight started off, I threw out a front kick to the face, tried to get into a couple of combos and use my range, because that's kind of what I do as a striker, is I'm a kind of try to fight at range. But Chaz did a very, very good job of crowding my area, right? So the long range opportunities and weapons that I usually am able to access, whatever the fucking word is, during fights, I just was not able to get off the jab, the teep, just wasn't able really to get into a rhythm. And that's not me saying like, oh, that's an excuse, but no, Chaz did not allow me to get into a rhythm. Striking wise, I did get a few shots. He got a good couple shots. I then went for a takedown. Obviously, he stuffed the takedown. To be honest, I haven't been able to watch the fight back just because the footage hasn't come up yet. But from my memory, if I remember correctly, he kind of stuffed the takedown, but I kind of got him on the ground for a second. Had his back for maybe 5 seconds tops. And you know, I simply made a mistake, man. I was too patient on the feet looking for my shots, and not patient enough once I got to the ground, right? So we get to the ground, like I said, I might have had his back for 5 seconds, and I immediately went to look for the choke, instead of putting a hook in, getting hooks in, gaining control on the ground. I kind of rushed and looked for the choke, and you can't really do that. You know what I mean? You can't really do that without the control, without the hooks. You know, he could easily slip right out, and that's exactly what he did. He then backed up to invite me back to my feet. I went to get up, and if you've ever fought in a UFC octagon, or not a UFC, but if you ever fought in an octagon before, one thing about the octagon floor is it is a very, very, very slippery canvas. Went to get up, did not get up, obviously slipped on my way up, and then from that slip, everything kind of went bad. He did what he was supposed to do, and he took advantage of that mistake. I slipped, he pounced. He might have landed a few shots on the ground. I don't think he did. I don't really think he needed to, if I'm being honest. He immediately got his hooks in and found the rear naked choke. And honestly, you know, all respect to Chaz. Like I said, he did his job. He knew where he needed to get the fight as far as the stand up. He knew that he couldn't allow me to fight at range, so he immediately closed the distance and kind of made it uncomfortable for me as far as finding shots. So yeah, that happened. Last night was an interesting experience for me, right? Because you know, I've done smoker shows and I've fought in different places, and you know, so and I have be honest, I've never taken an L. So that last night was a very interesting experience for me. I was down for maybe an hour. You know what I mean? I got back to my hotel and I let the emotions out as far as, you know what I mean, feeling the loss, because it's a hard thing to accept, man. This is not a basketball game where you can have a bad game and then 2 nights from now you can go back out in a men's league and go get 30 and win a basketball game. This isn't that. This isn't football where Sunday you can put a stinker up and then next Sunday you're able to remind people who the fuck you are. This isn't that. This is a fight game, so like it's a lot different. A loss in the fight game compared to the loss in basketball or football or something, or a different sport. It's different. So like I said, I got to the hotel. I had I let my emotions out. I had my little moment. But then I took away a few things from that fight, and I'm just go over the things that I took away from it. One thing is I can't allow somebody's intensity levels to be higher than mine. That was one thing that stood out about Chaz before the fight started. Was I was very calm and docile in my corner, and he was the complete opposite in his. Now he had family and his girlfriend and etc. there, so I can see where levels are hyped up for him, because he really has something to prove last night. But his intensity levels, man, were off the fucking charts, and mine were not. So his ability to close the distance had a lot to do with his intensity, with his aggressiveness, his ability. So a lot of the ability to close distance had to do with I was too busy worrying about being perfect and precise, and he did not have a fucking care in the world when it came to being perfect. It was just, I'm going out, balls to the wall, my heart rate's up, my intensity's up, and he proved that that's exactly what was happening. He was revved up and ready to go. That's for damn sure. So that's one takeaway from this fight, is that I can't allow the next fight to come and my intensity levels to be the same way. So, I train hard, but I feel like now when I'm training, it can't be a calm train. Like even when I'm doing the circuit training and it's high intensity, I need to ramp up my intensity even more, so that when fight night comes, the intensity I can bring, or at least bare minimum match the intensity of my opponent, and the aggression of my opponent. So that's one takeaway. Another takeaway was, and this is a positive thing, in the fight game, everybody wants to take no damage and leave out of there and, not have a bump, not have a bruise. But, Chaz is a pretty big fella, and I took his shots. You know what I mean? He attempted to walk me down, and he hit me with some pretty good ones. And I feel like a lot of those shots probably would have took a lesser man out. I probably would have knocked him out. But I didn't quit. You know what I mean? There wasn't a moment during those shots that I took where I was like, oh, fuck, I'm in trouble, or oh, fuck, I need to quit. That was never a thought of mine. I took those shots and I kept going forward. Just wasn't my night as far as the outcome. But I was able to prove to myself, without headgear, little gloves, guy the same size as me, throwing with all that intensity, with all that power and aggression, I was able to take his shots. He didn't drop me, nothing like that. You know what I mean? I took his shots and I kept going forward. So that's one of the bright spots that I can take from this fight, is that a lot of the times everybody thinks they can fight, right? Until they get hit in the face. The classic Mike Tyson quote. Everybody thinks they have a chance until they get punched in the face, whatever. I was able to get punched in the face, you know what I mean? And not only take those shots, but continue to keep going forward, not get knocked down, not get knocked out. You know what I mean? And again, big guy, big power, because some of those shots were decent ones. You know what I mean? So that's the other thing that I can take away from that. Another thing that I can take away from this fight is just not all fights are going to be the same, right? So what I did in the last one, being patient, being precise, it worked to my advantage. Being patient and being precise in this fight didn't work to my advantage. So different folks, different strokes. So that's something that I learned as well. You're better off, especially in those small gloves, man. You're better off going first and often, right? So in the big gloves, you can kind of take those steps back, because you don't really have to worry about what's coming at you, because you can kind of block with the bigger gloves and parry with the bigger gloves. But when you're fighting MMA, no headgear and those tiny gloves, man, you want to be first, and you want to be first often. And I was just, last night, I was not first often. I was very reactionary. What's the word? I can't fucking react. I was very reactive instead of proactive. And that cost me, man. That cost me. That cost me big time last night. Yeah, man. Another thing I learned from this fight is the need for an MMA gym, right? So it's one thing to spar the guys I'm sparring. It's one thing to work out how I'm working out, and there's nothing wrong with the way I'm working out, because it's gotten me fights, and I've won fights, and you know what I mean. So I'm not sitting here making an excuse, because again, all respect to Chaz, he did his fucking thing last night. But an MMA gym is like a necessity if you're going to want to go pro, right? Because you have to be able to gauge your progression against guys that are better than you, right? So one thing that these guys, and it's going to be for a while until I can move out of this place that I'm at. But one thing these guys the advantage they will always have over me is the fact that, they go to MMA gyms every day. They go to boxing gyms every day. They have trainers. They have coaches. They have teams. Every time that I walk in there, it's me, right? So I don't have a team behind me. I don't have family in the crowd. I don't have friends in the crowd. I don't have a corner. I mean, I've got two guys that are in my corner right when I fight, but they're not here for the training camps. You know what I mean? And shouts out to Austin, Runyon, and Jacob. Like, I appreciate both of you guys for being in my corner, and this is no spite or disrespect to either one of y'all, because again, I appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like, you guys don't have to do that for me, so it's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that, like, when I go to these fights, like I said, Jake sees what I do on Instagram. Austin sees what I do on Instagram. But getting that work in person with guys that have the same goal as you is a lot different than what I do at home, right? So like, that's something that I'm definitely going to have to consider, is regardless of how far these MMA gyms are from me, the closest one is probably like an hour. I'm just going to have to make it a point, you know what I mean, on my days off or on the weekends to really get in there and be there all day and work constantly, work with guys that have the same goals, guys that are better than me, guys that have won championships, guys that have, because that's where you get the best experience from. You know what I mean? I can't remember the last time I've had a hard sparring round. I usually control everybody that I spar with. So things like that, man, you just gotta put things into perspective for yourself. Like that was last night, like I said, I'm not gonna say it was a humbling experience. I've been humble whether I knock a motherfucker out or if I lose. Like I said, I did what I did in that last fight, and I didn't immediately run to YouTube and do what I'm doing right now, right? So, not going to say this was a humbling experience. I've been humble, but it was a good learning experience. It was not a reality check, because I feel like if I was just a bit more patient on the ground, I could have got those hooks in, could have got that choke, or could have got an arm bar, or could have controlled him for a little bit on the ground, and tired him out, and coulda, woulda, shoulda type shit. You know what I'm saying? But it's just, good learning experience, man. A very good learning experience. All respect to Chaz. I imagine that me and him will cross paths once again by the end of the year. At the top of the food chain, I imagine we will cross paths one more time. And I expect the results to be a lot different. I expect the training that I'm going to go start putting in. My body will look different. I just think that this is a good way to learn about the things that I need to work on and get better at. Yeah, man. Like I said, I want to thank everybody for the love and support. You know what I mean? That always means the world to me when you guys are in the comments, or you guys are on my Facebook or Instagram and you're liking my stories, loving my shit, you know what I mean, commenting on my shit. I always appreciate that. Yeah, man, like I said, I'm hoping that, on June 29th, I can promise you a couple things. One thing, that whole being patient and precise shit is going out the window. I'm going to kill, right? So I'm not going to take a step backwards, not once on the 29th. It's going to be straightforward, volume, pressure the entire time. Two, the training. Like I said, I have to find a way to get to these gyms where guys have the same goal as me, or I'll never be able to really reach my full potential. And then three, again, I learned in there last night. The biggest learning thing for me is the aggression, and then I learned last night that I'm able to take a shot. I don't want to take shots, obviously. I don't want to get hit at all, right? But I learned last night that I am able to take shots, right? Like I was saying, he hit me on the temple, and for a lot of other dudes, man, that's night. You know what I mean? So the ability to take that shot and keep moving was encouraging for me, if you will, because to be honest, I get hit, man, but dudes rarely land flush on me. You know what I mean? So for him to be able to land flush and me be able to take it and continue to move around and move, you know what I mean? And so that was encouraging. Yeah, man, it's just back to the drawing board for me, man. Back to the drawing board. On the 29th, I fight a guy in kickboxing in Bridgeport, West Virginia, on the same for the same promotion. I plan on continuing my streak and going 2-0 in kickboxing. And then the goal is still the same, man. By the end of the year, I really hope that Chaz has that MMA heavyweight title. I really hope so we can run it back and there be some real like be a prize on the line. You know what I mean? Yeah, the goals are still the same though. Two sport champion, fucking run through this guy on the 29th, and then prepare again in July and try to get another kickboxing W and win the title there, defend it there, and then maybe by the end of the year, like I said, me and Chaz will cross paths again and the result will be different. But until then, respect to him, respect to his team, respect to his coaches. And again, I'll be honest, man, He's a good guy, man. He was real nice. He was humble, respectful. You know what I mean? Before the fight, after the fight, it was just we had a little conversation afterwards. You know what I mean? Like I told him, after the fight we had that I told him, like, I appreciate it, man. Like I appreciate you taking the fight, for one. You know what I mean? I appreciate you for teaching me things while I was in there, too. And then three, I appreciate the respect that he showed before and after the fight, because, in this game, especially on the way up, you want to make a name for yourself. And a lot of the times you make a name for yourself in this game by being disrespectful or being a goofy ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the fact that he didn't do either of those things is love, is respect, love, gang. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and even before I left the venue, we had a decent like I said, he told me be safe, you know what I mean, good shit, blah blah blah, respect, da da da, you know what I mean? Yeah, man, it's just I'm not as butthurt about it as I was last night, and that's really all that matters, man. I'm right back to the drawing board today. As soon as I get done shooting this, I'm gonna go get a couple miles in, get some heavy bag work in. Yeah, man, just like I said, thank y'all for the support, and your boy will be back on the 29th better than ever. You can believe that. Thank y'all, man. I'm out.